Ladies and gentlemen, lock the doors, check the windows, and keep your Wi-Fi strong because something absolutely chaotic just dropped in the hip-hop universe. 1 minute the internet was quiet, and the next minute, boom, 50 Cent allegedly hinted he might be cooking up a documentary about T.I. and Tiny Harris. And if you know 50, you know that man doesn't just throw shade, he launches nuclear memes. But wait, it gets even messier, because right when fans were trying to figure out if this was just another trolling session from hip-hop's most dangerous Instagram comedian, in walks Boosie Badazz with a reaction that made the entire internet stop scrolling. Now the question everybody is asking is simple. Is 50 Cent really about to drop a surviving T.I. and Tiny style documentary? Or is this just another chapter in rap's most petty billionaire chess game? Because if 50 actually pulls this off, we're not talking about a diss track, we're talking cameras, investigations, old allegations resurfacing, internet detectives working overtime, and a hip-hop drama so messy it might make reality TV look like a church documentary. So what exactly did Boosie say, and why are fans suddenly bracing for impact? It all started like a whisper, a digital murmur, but when 50 Cent decided to post on social media about T.I. and Tiny, the quiet murmur became a full-blown storm. The post was subtle at first glance, just a casual hint, a casual nudge about some kind of documentary that might expose secrets. Yet anyone who knows the game knew exactly what was happening. This isn't just gossip, and it's not just the internet throwing shade. This is 50 Cent, the man who turned beef into entertainment and entertainment into a full-blown industry narrative. When he whispers, the entire hip-hop world leans in. And what he whispered this time, something that made fans clutch their phones like they were holding evidence in a federal case. Because let's be real, Ty and Tiny have had their fair share of controversies over the years. Past allegations, public disputes, legal squabbles, they've navigated them all. Some settled, some dismissed, some lingered like a shadow over their careers. And 50 Cent, of course, didn't miss a single detail. He knows the history. He knows the juicy headlines. And now, he's dangling the possibility of turning that history into a visual spectacle. Not a diss track. Not a sly Instagram meme. A full-on cinematic dissection of every rumor, every scandal, every headline they thought they left behind. Fans immediately went wild. Social media lit up as speculation ran rampant. Was this just a stunt? Was 50 Cent serious? Some claimed he was trolling, others swore he had a crew already scouting locations, interviewing witnesses, and digging up archives that no one outside the inner circles had ever seen. The rumor mill turned overdrive, spinning clips from old interviews, snippets of court records, even screenshots of private conversations that may or may not have been real. And at the center of it all, waiting for the storm to hit, was Boosie, who's never been one to shy away from calling it as he sees it, immediately entered the conversation. His reaction didn't just make waves, it sent tidal currents across Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and every corner of hip-hop commentary. He didn't just comment. He dissected, he exposed, and he reminded the audience exactly why people pay attention when he speaks. According to insiders, Boosie's statement was part disbelief, part warning, and part theatrical smackdown, delivered in a way that left no room for misinterpretation. The internet had officially entered a new phase of this saga, and as the clips started circulating, fans were left with a single, unavoidable thought. This is bigger than any beef they've seen in years. Bigger than album drops, bigger than tour announcements, bigger than the usual shade-throwing Instagram posts. Sources close to the situation anonymous, naturally, because no one wants to be directly involved when 50 Cent is in the building, suggested that what makes this explosive isn't just the alleged documentary. It's the combination of timing, strategy, and past controversies. T.I. and Tiny are not strangers to headlines, but the public forgets the details. People scroll past lawsuits, accusations, and court reports like old news. But 50 Cent, ever the strategist, knows how to bring the past screaming back into the present. Suddenly, old allegations that were dismissed or quietly resolved decades ago feel new again. And in the world of viral media, Perception is everything, adding to the chaos. Other hip-hop figures began weighing in, amplifying the narrative with interviews, posts, and commentary. Some were cautious, hinting at potential damage control, while others were openly critical of the very idea that private matters could become public entertainment. But one thing was undeniable: everyone was talking. And when everyone talks, rumors solidify, theories emerge, and the narrative begins to take on a life of its own. Every clip, every comment, every reaction became a building block in a story that, for some fans, was more dramatic than any fictional crime series. But what did Boosie actually say? In a clip that went viral within minutes, he highlighted exactly what most fans had been thinking but hadn't dared to say out loud: the idea that 50 Cent could or would turn personal controversies into a media spectacle was not just a threat. It was a statement. And Boosie made it clear that the consequences could ripple far beyond social media. He spoke about the speed at which narratives form, how quickly a single post can spiral into full-blown public obsession, and how, in today's climate, one comment can ignite an entire fandom into theorizing, speculating, and essentially running its own investigative campaign. Meanwhile, the alleged documentary itself, though unconfirmed, became a point of tension. Insiders suggested that if 50 Cent actually decided to move forward, the scope would be cinematic, meticulous, and brutal. Every angle, every headline, every court record would be dissected. Sources claim that no stone would be left unturned, no tweet left unanalyzed. In the eyes of fans, this wasn't just a documentary, it was a blueprint for chaos. A map of celebrity missteps repackaged as a public spectacle. And T.I. and Tiny? Well, they were suddenly on the defensive, navigating a digital minefield while the rumor mill churned relentlessly. Public reaction, of course, was instant and intense. Some fans expressed outrage, claiming this was a personal attack disguised as entertainment. Others leaned in with popcorn emojis, anticipating the inevitable fireworks. Forums were flooded with debates, conspiracy theories, and screenshots of supposed insider information. Every post, clip, and tweet was analyzed in painstaking detail, and every fan had a theory about 50 Cent's motives. Was he exposing the truth? Or was this a calculated move to dominate the conversation, to insert himself into the headlines while the subject of the controversy struggled to respond? Adding fuel to the fire, Moneybagg also entered the conversation. In interviews, he subtly referenced the situation, noting how quickly things had escalated online. Sources claimed his commentary wasn't direct, but the timing was impeccable. Within hours, snippets of his interviews were being shared alongside 50 Cent's post and Boosie's reaction, creating a perfect storm of speculation and discussion. Every new clip added another layer of complexity, and fans began to compare statements, analyze tone, and anticipate what might come next. The drama didn't stop there. Some sources suggested that 50 Cent's alleged approach went beyond the internet. Rumors circulated about private meetings, production scouts, and possible film crews already being briefed. Whether true or exaggerated, the narrative itself was enough to make fans and even industry insiders pause. Everyone knows 50 Cent doesn't play small. When he enters a space, he dominates it, whether through albums, business ventures, or, apparently, potential documentaries that dissect every public misstep of fellow artists. Meanwhile, T.I., in a recent radio interview, tried to clarify his position. He emphasized that past reactions from associates were independent, and that he personally encouraged moderation. He tried to shift the focus away from social media chaos and back onto his craft, his music, and his ongoing projects. But once the digital storm hits, it doesn't listen to clarifications. Every statement is scrutinized, every quote parsed for hidden meanings, and every action becomes a potential headline. Fans naturally were split. Some argued that 50 Cent was overstepping, turning old allegations into modern entertainment. Others insisted that it was just classic 50 Cent aggressive, entertaining, and perfectly timed for viral engagement. The conversation spread like wildfire, moving from Twitter to TikTok, from Instagram to YouTube reaction channels, and suddenly everyone had an opinion. And in true hip-hop fashion, The feud wasn't just about allegations, it was about pride, reputation, and the unspoken rules of digital warfare. As the night wore on, Boosie doubled down, warning about the speed and intensity of online narratives. He explained that the current climate allowed a single post to explode into international conversation within hours, and that any misstep could snowball into an uncontrollable story. His warnings weren't vague, they were precise, almost prophetic, emphasizing that this was not a simple feud. This was a digital spectacle with real-world consequences. The tension was palpable. Social media threads stretched for miles, each one dissecting 50 Cent's alleged strategy and Boosie's reactions. Fans debated everything from potential lawsuits to PR strategies, to the possible impact on T.I. and Tiny's brand and public image. Speculation ran rampant about who had allies in the industry who might step in, and what moves could be made to either escalate or de-escalate the situation. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get any messier, whispers emerged about behind-the-scenes meetings, private legal consultations, and discussions with publicists. No one knew exactly what was happening behind closed doors, but the rumors themselves were enough to fuel the next wave of online hysteria. The narrative had grown too big for any single person to control, and the story was officially out of the hands of the individuals involved. It had become a full-blown public phenomenon. It was clear. This wasn't just a social media squabble. It wasn't just another headline to scroll past. What we were watching was a carefully orchestrated, or perhaps spontaneously erupting digital storm that had the potential to change how hip-hop narratives unfolded online. And as fans held their breath, screens lit up across the world with posts, comments, and theories, all waiting for the next explosive development in this saga. And here's where things get really messy. Because once the storm of social media speculation hits, the real dirt starts to surface, or at least the dirt that fans think exists. Anonymous sources claiming to be close to the production began leaking information about the so-called 50 Cent documentary. According to these insiders, the project isn't just going to be a simple recap of headlines or a few Instagram clips. No, they claim it's an all-out cinematic breakdown, with investigative-style edits, interviews, and even dramatized reenactments of moments from T.I. and Tiny's past controversies. Some insiders hinted that the production team had already scouted locations, reviewed court documents, and dug into past headlines that had been dismissed or quietly resolved, making old news feel brand new, just in time to hit peak public curiosity. But here's where the intrigue really kicks in. Boosie's reaction didn't just stop at disbelief. In clips that have since gone viral, he warned that 50 Cent's approach could change the game entirely. "This ain't no diss track," Boosie said. "This is full-on cinematic demolition. Cameras, producers, editors, all of ready to frame a story you think is private. Once they roll, there's no takebacks." And let's not forget, Boosie has a reputation for calling things like he sees them, often before anyone else does. He even joked half-seriously that if T.I. and Tiny weren't careful, the documentary could make them look like characters in a cautionary tale rather than celebrated artists. Of course, fans didn't waste a second reacting. Twitter threads exploded overnight, dissecting every frame of Boosie's reaction videos. TikTok creators began reenacting snippets of the alleged documentary plan, some with dramatic filters, some with comedic exaggerations, and some downright conspiratorial. People started connecting dots from T.I.'s old interviews, Tiny's reality show moments, and even obscure magazine covers from a decade ago. Within hours, a social media frenzy had fully formed. Every screenshot was a potential headline, every post a viral clip, and every fan a self-appointed investigative journalist trying to predict 50 Cent's next move. Meanwhile, the alleged insiders didn't stop at leaks, they went full-on expose mode. One anonymous source claimed that 50 Cent had personally reached out to a team of documentary producers known for turning celebrity controversies into award-winning media events. "They're talking scripts, shots, and timelines," the source said. "This isn't casual. This is a production. Cameras, editing rooms, the whole 9 yards. They're dissecting interactions from years ago, interviews nobody paid attention to, and online posts that went viral for 48 hours and then disappeared. Everything is being pulled back into focus. Naturally, the internet had opinions. Some fans argued that 50 Cent was crossing a line using old, legally resolved matters as ammunition for entertainment purposes. Others celebrated it, calling it Classic 50 and applauding the theatrical genius behind turning a personal feud into a media spectacle. And yet, another group speculated about Boosie's role. Was he trying to warn T.I. and Tiny? Or was he simply adding fuel to the fire for his own brand visibility? No one seemed to agree, which of course only made the story grow faster. The public debate wasn't limited to fans either. Hip-hop commentators, bloggers, and radio hosts began dissecting the situation like it was a high-stakes legal case. Some focused on T.I. and Tiny's past controversies, others on 50 Cent's motivations. One insider analyst claimed that the timing of the post wasn't accidental. It coincided perfectly with T.I.'s latest media appearances and music promotions, suggesting that 50 Cent was not only targeting reputation, but also attempting to dominate the conversation around the rap veteran's current projects. It's a strategic play, the analyst said. 50 Cent knows timing is everything. Hit when the audience is paying attention and you control the narrative. Boosie, however, didn't mince words. In follow-up comments, he addressed the broader implications of what was happening. He highlighted how, in today's digital era, the way celebrity disputes unfold has fundamentally changed. Back in the day, conflicts were often handled through music or controlled interviews. Now, a single Instagram post can trigger a worldwide reaction. Leaks, reactions, comments, reposts, they all layer on top of one another, creating a narrative that can spiral beyond anyone's control. Boosie emphasized that the attention surrounding this situation might end up being bigger than the individuals involved. Once it hits the public, you don't own it anymore, he said. It becomes the fans' story, the media's story, and everyone else's story. You can try to respond, but the narrative has a life of its own. Some so-called insiders even claim there were preliminary conversations about legal protections. While it's unclear whether 50 Cent intends to include allegations that were resolved in court, sources suggested that T.I.'s team has been quietly consulting with attorneys to understand potential risks. Tiny's team reportedly mirrored the same approach, preparing for worst-case scenarios, from public backlash to reputational damage. Yet, even with legal precautions, fans noted once a story is out, it's difficult to contain. And every online reaction can potentially amplify perception. Regardless of whether it's accurate, adding another layer of drama. Moneybagg Yo also got drawn into the narrative. In interviews that circulated widely, he subtly referenced the escalating feud, suggesting that some reactions were inevitable when high-profile artists' histories intersect with social media drama. "You know how it goes?" he said cryptically. "Once people start talking, it grows faster than you can imagine. Old stories get new life, and the whole world wants to see how it ends." His comments, while vague, were enough to make fans speculate whether more figures would weigh in, or even participate in the emerging documentary narrative. Meanwhile, social media sentiment was split down the middle. One faction accused 50 Cent of weaponizing old allegations for entertainment. Another praised him for ingenuity and pure marketing genius. Some suggested Boosie's intervention was calculated, positioning himself as a truth-teller while simultaneously keeping his brand in the conversation. And yet, others argued that T.I. and Tiny were being unfairly dragged into a spectacle that had little to do with their current work and more to do with social media dynamics. The arguments were relentless, the engagement astronomical, and the stakes, at least in the court of public opinion, insanely high. The so-called leaked production notes made things even juicier. One anonymous snippet claimed that every major incident, from T.I.'s past legal disputes to Tiny's reality show moments, would be covered in minute detail. Alleged text messages, throwback interviews, social media posts, they were all supposedly part of the investigative lens. "It's insane," said one online commentator. "They're going deep, like full forensic-level research. Every headline, every clip, every tweet, they're cataloging it like evidence in a court case. Whether true or exaggerated, This idea alone was enough to make fans panic and speculate about what might appear on screen. Meanwhile, reactions weren't just online. Industry insiders whispered about potential fallout, from brand deals to sponsorships, suggesting that if old allegations were highlighted again, even if dismissed, companies might reconsider partnerships. It's the court of public opinion, one source said. Even resolved matters can become new PR headaches when framed in a documentary or viral content. Companies don't like uncertainty. The tension between personal reputation and public perception became a key talking point in the analysis. As the story grew beyond a simple feud into a case study in celebrity, media management. And then there was the fan-driven investigation, which reached peak frenzy. Social media users began compiling timelines of events, mapping out when 50 Cent allegedly made posts when Boosie reacted, and even connecting those with T.I.'s media appearances and music releases. They created charts, video mashups, and meme compilations, each adding to the sense that something massive was about to drop. Every new post, every retweet, every screenshot felt like a puzzle piece, slowly revealing a story that, in reality, nobody could fully confirm, yet everyone acted as though they had inside knowledge. The drama had exploded beyond the artists themselves. Fans, commentators, and insiders were all actively participating. Building layers of narrative that made it nearly impossible to separate speculation from reality. Boosie's warning about the velocity of online stories had proven prophetic. Once the alleged documentary threat surfaced, the story became self-propagating. Each new comment, leak, or clip amplified it further, ensuring that the controversy would dominate online conversation for weeks. As the public debates continued, whispers about behind-the-scenes preparation kept intensifying. Some claimed cameras had already been scheduled, others swore scripts were being drafted, and a few went so far as to suggest that 50 Cent had begun consulting former industry insiders about how to craft maximum suspense and virality. The rumor itself became a spectacle, a story that thrived on ambiguity and speculation, turning the anticipation into an event more important than the content it was supposedly building toward. And just when fans thought the narrative couldn't possibly get more tangled, the combination of leaked insider details, Boosie's blunt commentary, Moneybagg Yo's cryptic remarks, and social media hysteria created a perfect storm. The digital landscape became a virtual courtroom, with everyone acting as juror, lawyer, and witness simultaneously. Every detail, real or imagined, was dissected, debated, and memed into eternity. One thing was crystal clear: this is not your average celebrity squabble. This is a meticulously layered narrative, part rumor, part speculation, part planned media strategy, and part real-life entertainment. The stakes are personal, public, and digital all at once. And the world is watching, cameras real or imagined poised to capture every reaction. And now, the consequences. Because once a story reaches this level, it's no longer just gossip or viral entertainment. It becomes a living, breathing entity with potential legal, financial, and public fallout. Sources claiming to have insider knowledge suggested that T.I. and Tiny's teams were scrambling behind the scenes, consulting lawyers, publicists, and crisis management experts. The question on everyone's mind? What happens if 50 Cent actually goes forward with this documentary, or at least the threat of it? Some insiders hinted at the possibility of civil action, lawsuits, or legal injunctions aimed at stopping the documentary before it even sees the light of day. If anything touches previously resolved allegations, one anonymous source claimed, there's a real risk of defamation claims, public damage, and major PR disasters. And in today's digital age, even a hint of scandal can spark cascading consequences. Brand deals might be paused, sponsorships reconsidered, and partnerships questioned. The ripple effect spreads faster than a social media post. And when 50 Cent is involved, nobody underestimates the reach. Boosie's role in all this only intensified the tension. He wasn't just reacting for attention, he was issuing a warning. Every comment, every clip, every viral post from him reminded the world that public perception matters just as much as legal reality. He made it clear, When stories like these hit the internet, they take on a life of their own. You can try to manage it, Boosie said in one clip, but the moment it goes viral, you're not in control. Fans, bloggers, commentators, they'll run it for you. And the fans did exactly that, creating thread after thread, analyzing every possible angle of T.I. and Tiny's past controversies, their public image, and even their private behaviors, real or imagined. The alleged fallout didn't stop at the legal or social level. Industry insiders speculated that financial consequences could follow. Even though T.I. and Tiny are established figures with substantial income streams, the public spotlight could pressure brands, streaming platforms, and event promoters to reconsider partnerships. Imagine major music festivals hesitating to book T.I., or corporate sponsors pulling ads during Tiny's reality show promotions. All because the narrative of past controversies is resurfacing at peak viral intensity. Rumors suggested that some executives were quietly having conversations, assessing risk and preparing contingency plans, all behind closed doors. Of course, because in Hollywood, secrecy is currency, and as expected, the social media frenzy didn't relent. Fans debated endlessly whether 50 Cent's move was motivated by genuine interest in the truth or just a strategic media play. Some pointed out the timing coinciding with T.I.'s latest music releases and Tiny's social appearances as evidence that this was calculated, a way to dominate headlines while staying relevant. Others argued that the documentary thread itself might be enough to manipulate public perception without a single camera ever rolling. Sometimes the rumor is more powerful than the actual footage, one online commentator wrote. And in this case, that statement could not have been more accurate. Even casual observers began questioning the morality of turning old controversies into public entertainment. Commentators asked whether revisiting allegations, even ones that had been legally resolved, was fair. Could it damage reputations that had already been rehabilitated in the court of law? Was this entertainment or was it exploitation? And yet, the digital ecosystem thrives on drama. Clips, headlines, and reaction videos ensured that engagement remained high, further blurring the line between personal privacy and public spectacle. Boosie, ever the unfiltered voice, continued to weigh in, reminding fans that the pace of social media amplifies everything. A single comment can snowball into international headlines, memes, and even interviews on mainstream outlets. He emphasized that for T.I. and Tiny, the challenge isn't just managing the narrative, it's managing millions of independent narratives simultaneously. Every fan, every blogger, every influencer, they're all running their own storylines now, Boosie said. And you can't control them. You can't even predict them. Meanwhile, Moneybag's cryptic comments continued to circulate, adding another layer of uncertainty. Industry insiders suggested that his observations about how quickly conversations spiral in the digital age were partially meant to caution artists about overreacting. But fans interpreted them as further evidence that more figures might weigh in and possibly escalate the situation. Clips from his interviews were shared with captions implying that he had knowledge of 50 Cent's intentions, even if no direct connection existed. In the world of viral media, perception often outweighs reality, and speculation itself becomes a driver of the story. And then there were the theorists, the self-appointed analysts piecing together every tweet, every interview, every post, as if constructing an evidence board for a true crime series. Old videos of T.I. discussing past allegations were resurrected. Tiny's reality show clips were clipped and repurposed. Even throwback Instagram posts became ammunition in the online debate. Fans compared reactions, predicted next moves, and speculated on the potential release date of the documentary. Every new rumor added pressure, as if the very act of speculation could somehow compel 50 Cent to follow through. Some insiders even hinted at political and regulatory angles, claiming that if certain allegations were reintroduced in a public media project, complaints could be filed with broadcasting regulators or streaming platforms. While entirely hypothetical, the mere suggestion created headlines and further intensified public attention. Suddenly, the stakes were not just reputation and PR, they included potential oversight from external authorities. Every leak, every post, every commentary added to a sense of imminent crisis. Boosie warned repeatedly that this wasn't a battle of who's louder online, it was a battle over narrative control. He noted that once public speculation reaches a certain velocity, the facts themselves can become secondary to perception. A single misleading headline or misinterpreted clip could define public opinion for weeks or months, regardless of what the legal record says. And in hip-hop culture, where reputation and credibility are everything, that can be catastrophic. Meanwhile, 50 Cent's strategic silence between posts added a layer of tension. Analysts and fans alike speculated about what was next. Would he release teasers? Would he schedule interviews with producers? Or was the threat itself enough to maintain dominance over the conversation? Every day without a new post seemed to generate more theories than the previous day, creating an atmosphere of constant suspense. The online debate also revealed a generational divide. Older fans, familiar with the traditional methods of handling celebrity disputes, were shocked by the scale of digital escalation. Younger fans, accustomed to viral cycles and social media commentary, treated every leak and snippet as breaking news. Together, these groups created a pressure cooker, amplifying the situation in real-time. And then came the imagined worst-case scenarios, shared by commentators, legal battles, brand fallout, public backlash, media probes, and even speculative financial repercussions. While speculative, these hypothetical consequences added drama, making the story feel like an impending disaster movie. Fans debated whether T.I. and Tiny could weather the storm, whether 50 Cent had any legal or ethical constraints, and whether Boosie's warnings were enough to prevent the situation from spinning completely out of control. As the hours and days passed, the narrative became a self-sustaining machine. Social media clips, commentary videos, memes, and analysis threads all perpetuated the story, independent of any official releases or confirmations. It wasn't just a feud anymore, it was a public phenomenon, a multi-platform spectacle where every participant from Boosie to Moneybagg Yo became a character in an ongoing narrative that audiences could watch unfold in real time. And yet, despite all the drama, one central question remained unanswered. Will 50 Cent actually produce the documentary? Or is this simply another masterclass in media manipulation? Fans debated endlessly, analysts speculated feverishly, and Boosie continued to warn everyone that the velocity of modern digital storytelling is both unstoppable and unpredictable. It was clear the situation had outgrown the individuals involved. This wasn't just a feud. It was a case study in the power of social media, the speed of virality, and the unpredictability of public perception. Every post, every reaction, every rumor contributed to a narrative that could evolve in ways no one could control. And as the internet watched, analyzed, and shared, the real drama wasn't just the potential documentary, it was how modern celebrity culture thrives on chaos, speculation, and attention. The stage is set. The players are ready. And the public? They're already part of the story, contributing to a spectacle that feels larger than life. The fallout isn't hypothetical anymore, it's unfolding. And everyone watching knows that the next viral headline could change everything. So, what do you think? Is 50 Cent about to drop the documentary that could shake T.I. and Tiny's world to its core? Or is this just another masterclass in digital manipulation? Will Boosie's warning actually save them from public meltdown, or is it already too late? The internet is buzzing, the clips are spreading, and every single post feels like it's part of a ticking time bomb ready to explode in your feed. And let's be real, this isn't just about celebrity feuds anymore. It's about control, reputation, and who owns the narrative in the age of social media chaos. Every tweet, every repost, every reaction is shaping the story in real time, whether anyone likes it or not. So tell me, how far do you think this will go? Could it end in legal battles, public apologies, or brand fallout? Or is this just the beginning of a spectacle that will dominate headlines for weeks? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Who's really in control here, T.I., Tiny, 50 Cent, Boosie, or the fans themselves? Hit that like button if you want more explosive breakdowns. And don't forget to subscribe for every twist, leak, and jaw-dropping moment in this insane saga. The story is far from over, and you don't want to miss what happens next.